Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great from wherever you're watching this video from. Now, for the longest time, black folks have been told that they were inferior. Black folks have been told that there was nothing great about them. But when you get to look at the reality, or when you get to check the reality, you are going to find out that, well, in fact, these people have always depended on black people. So I'm going to ask you, if somebody is inferior, why is it that white folks cannot leave them alone? Why is it that white folks depend on them? For the longest time, we have seen, even going back to slavery, without black folks, a lot of things would have not been possible. Like for them, black people took care of their kids. Majority of white folks that grew during the times of Jim Crow, during the times of slavery, they were raised by black women. They were raised by black people. A white person tells a white kid that if you feel insecure or if you feel you're not in a safe place, look for a black person. Well, this is something that might be seen as something which is good, but look at how white folks have always siphoned on black energy. Why? Look at the level of white dependency. Look at how they depend on black people. Look at how they cannot do without black people. They have the audacity of telling you that you are inferior. But well, in the truth, when you get to check history, when you get to see the core relationship on how all these things were happening, you get to see that they heavily depended on black people. They heavily relied on black folks. They could never do without black people. They have always depended on black people. So this all reveals the reality of the matter. This all reveals the truth. This all reveals everything that you need to know. So brothers and sisters, I want us to watch this video. Then I'll be back with my thoughts and commentaries in regards to this. So let's watch the video. I'll be back.
Imagine hating a group of people so much that you trust them to watch your children. Let's talk about the twisted mindset that it takes to support racism. Because it isn't just about ignorance, it's also hypocrisy. If black people were lazy, dangerous, and less than human like they like to claim, then why were we trusted to cook the food? Why were we trusted to raise the babies? Why were we trusted to clean homes, tend the land, and nurse the sick? You don't put your life and your legacy in the hands of somebody that you think is beneath you. You only do that when you know the truth. We were never inferior. That lie had to be built to justify the exploitation, to make people feel comfortable for stealing labor, culture, and dignity. See, racism isn't just hate, it's entitlement. It's using someone, depending on them, then turning around and denying their humanity. It's a system where you benefit from somebody else's excellence and then blame them for being a problem. My only question is, if it ain't hypocrisy, then what is it? Tell me, how do you heal a country that won't admit the truth? And tag somebody who needs to hear it. Let's talk about it.
White people owned everything. They owned all the payrolls, and they owned all the cops, and they owned all the criminal courts, and ownership of the country is a great enforcer. Black person get out of line, he's deemed crazy and he's dealt with. Sometimes he's killed, sometimes he's sued for, he's prosecuted for tax evasion, sometimes he's fired. Black people knew, and earlier, of course, you got killed or whipped in slavery time. So black people knew that it was very dangerous to express anger to white people and to tell white people how they felt and how stupid they thought white people were. The old black comedian once said, "Boss asked me what it like, I look in his face before I look outside."
Black progress happens, America always pulls the rug. And this ain't new. We had Reconstruction. Then came Jim Crow. We had the Civil Rights Movement. Then came Nixon's war on black communities. And we got Obama. And then came Trump. Do you see the pattern? This country never gave up on racism. It just evolved it, coded it, tucked it behind slogans like states' rights and law and order. And now that Trump is back in power the second time, They don't even bother with the code anymore because they don't have to. And then some of you are shocked. But this is how white supremacy always responds to black excellence, with backlash. Every time we rise, they always retaliate. Keep in mind, history keeps receipts. You see the pattern? Because I know I do.
So one of their favorite arguments for white supremacy's existence is, but slavery. And I'm just going to clear it up now. Slavery was not supremacy. It was fragile men with whips. If you have to chain a people, steal their language, brand their bodies, and pass laws to make them less than, that's not supremacy. I'm just clearing that up now. It's spiritual terror management. Because you don't enslave what you think is beneath you. You enslave what frightens you into silence if left free. Slavery is not proof of white dominance. It's proof of white dependence on stolen labor, on extracted brilliance, on eternal surveillance. If white supremacy were real, right? If it were real, I just want y'all to lock in. If white supremacy were real, the moment slavery would end it, so would the fear. But what really happened? It mutated into black codes, into lynch mobs, into redlining, into mass incarceration. That is not supremacy. That is generational panic dressed up in all your favorite legal language. And let's go to all the arguments, because I truly want you to understand. Jim Crow also is not power. It's a performance. Segregation wasn't about pride. It was about containment. Water fountains, bus seats, lunch counters, all that. None of that was to elevate whiteness. It was to protect it from proximity to things it couldn't have. To keep it from dissolving in the presence of uncolonized joy. It took armies of laws to maintain the illusion of white supremacy. That's how fraudulent it is. Because the lie cannot walk unassisted. Jim Crow is not a monument to white strength at all. It is a crutch for a collapsing myth. Let's go some more. Let's talk about the GI Bill. Because they say, but we gave veterans a future. Unless, cool, you can even imagine that. Because they gave veterans a future unless you were black, unless you were indigenous, unless you were part of the very machine that bled for a freedom you never received. Right. I just want to say that because white veterans got homes, education, lands. You know what black veterans got? They got surveillance, denial, firebombs in their neighborhoods. So what did supremacy do when black bodies served it with honor? It shut the door in their face. That's still not supremacy. It's a grift. Right? That's all a grift, sealed in policy. See, you got to think about it. Because never in your life, never in history has anyone ever encountered this thing. Because if white supremacy was so powerful, why did it flinch at a bus boycott? Why did it suppress a sermon? Why did it panic at a sit-in? Right? Because deep down, you know it, I know it, we all know it. The spell was already breaking. You needed armies, dogs, hoses, and assassins just to stop a song and dignity. And you still lost. I just want to clear that up. You still lost. Supremacy that collapses when a child sings freedom is barely supreme. Barely. It was a curtain held up by the fear. By fear, that's all it is. I want to address a comment. Museums are literally cemeteries. Literally. Cemeteries with a gift shop. That's all it is. You call it heritage, you call it pride, but a museum full of stolen gods isn't history. It isn't. You know what we could call it? It's just a hostage situation. It's a hostage display. You looted entire civilizations, then put their brilliance in glass and called that civilization. I'm just saying that's insane. That none of that is evidence of superiority. I don't even want to call it. It's cultural burglary. It's cultural burglary framed as enlightenment. So I want you to sit with this, especially about the museums, because all of them are global graveyards. Because white supremacy cannot create the sacred. It couldn't create the sacred. It only possesses it. So I want y'all to sit with it like this. Because this shit is hilarious. It is conceptually once you really sit there and think about it. If the United States and white supremacy claim to be wrong, then blackness is the man carrying the cross on his back, not because he was conquered, but because they needed someone to sacred to crucify in public. And that's not empire. That's not even what you've achieved. You haven't even achieved empire. That's how tough the situation is for you. Can't cap. It's performance theology with blood smeared on its very lens that's recording. Slavery was a horror script and Jim Crow was the stage set. And the GI Bill, it got to be your favorite bait and switch. The civil rights backlash, that was a temper tantrum. That was the meltdown. The museums are the credits of the movie that you didn't even write. You ain't even write it. I want to pick a new name for white supremacy. New name. because I want people to understand it and be able to see it beautifully. It is the longest running identity crisis the world has ever seen. It is the longest running crisis of identity the world has ever seen. Ever. Ever. And it doesn't even end with applause. It just ends with the mirror shatters. I'm just saying, we can pull the plug on this one. There's a lot of things we fighting that are real. That is not real.
The reason your job don't let you leave the premises while you're still clocked in has nothing to do with your safety. That is related to slavery. It dates back to black codes. During a time when black people were required to have a job, and on said job, they were required to live on that plantation. And if they left that plantation at all, they could be arrested or fined. Most likely fined. And that fine would lead to them being forced to stay on that plantation for life and also their future generations. Everything is dated back to slavery. Almost everything. And if it doesn't date back to slavery, it's definitely rooted in racism. Something as simple as renting a car. That's related to predatory lending. You can't even rent a car if you don't have a credit card. In order to have a credit card, you have to have a credit limit, a high credit limit, because you have to have a $500 deposit. They don't loan that type of money to black people, statistically. Everything. I know, right? Even he agreed. So no, you're not tripping. You're not tripping. It is racist. That system, that thing, that business, that practice, that everything. Everything. Challenge it. Even though we have to live with it for now, we can still challenge it.
Saying that this administration has moved us back 50 years is completely untrue, and it is coming from your white privilege. It's coming from the fact that you have been able to ignore racism your whole life because it doesn't affect you personally. It's coming from the fact that you don't notice microaggressions. You don't notice when Black people are being treated differently or put down subtly, and you don't understand their experiences that they've had their entire life that they can't avoid, and things that you cannot even imagine that they've witnessed. The reason why it feels to you that we've moved back 50 years is because now people feel even more comfortable to be even more vocal. And so these little subtle things that they casually did here and there, they're doing more often. And then also you have social media. So you have these people that are loud and proud on social media, and these social media posts are gaining attention. Then you have people that are upset with what is happening, and so they're posting anti-racist posts, and these anti-racist posts are going viral because then you have the racists laughing at them, arguing with them in the comments, and things are blowing up in front of us. You don't suddenly wake up one day and, due to who the administration is, you decide, now I'm going to be racist. No, you've always been racist. Are you literally forgetting that we had segregation where Black and white people couldn't even use the same restaurant? Are you forgetting that after that we had redlining? Do you think we all of a sudden decided, oh, we're not racist anymore, and now we're racist again? Like, when? Where was the time? Where was the time where we were ever not racist, where we had to become racist again? Where was the time where we ever truly healed from the stain that was slavery in this country, from all of the lasting impacts? Because if our country healed, we wouldn't be able to go back like this. That's not what true healing is. Who people vote for says who they are, says who they've always been. Our country spoke for itself. Don't blame one person on that.
Just in case you all needed a visual representation of where we are right now, they are actively, at this current moment in Washington, D.C., tearing up the Black Lives Matter street. Did you hear what I said? They are taking taxpayer dollars to tear up a street because that's how much they hate us. Do you understand what's happening? I just want everybody to be clear, okay? They have people out there working to tear up a street that was laid down to represent unity, represent that our lives matter, okay? And they are actively tearing it up, which shows what? They do not care about us, and we do not matter. This is where we are. I just want everybody to be clear in case there was any misunderstanding. Also, none of this is normal, okay? I just want everybody to be clear on that. So on top of the DEI rollbacks and on top of threatening schools, on top of all of that, we're tearing up streets now, okay? That's how much this is rooted in actual hate.
America is so deeply rooted in racism and particularly misogynoir that even if you are from America, being a black woman does not make you an American. And America does not want to claim you as one of their own. The only people that they want to claim as one of their own are white. This is especially and very particularly clear in cases of Beyonce, of course, Meghan Markle, Serena Williams, in the case of Simone Biles, because America does not consider black people or people of color Americans. When I came to America, the most interesting thing for me to realize was like, oh, so like white people get all the credit for the stuff that people of color actually introduce into the culture. I just thought this was like a system that y'all employed. Like I thought it was like, oh yeah, we all look to the people of color to set the trend and then we all copy it. Like that's obvious. And it wasn't. I was just autistic, it turns out, the whole time. So it wasn't obvious to everybody else. But back in my country and like other countries in Europe, like I know this for a fact, like you were saying, like they defend women from their country just for being from that country, right? It's like, no, she's ours. Like you don't get to say shit about her. But again, because there is this distinction in America of like, you're not really American unless you're white. And they don't get claimed. And it is so obvious because like, in any other country, had a woman reached the fame and status levels and the accomplishments that any of these women that I named off have reached, like Beyonce, who's from Houston, Texas, like the most all-American thing that you can imagine, like she is it. And America doesn't claim her. In fact, a lot of people will tell you to your face without even being prompted that they don't like Beyonce. It's never encountered that in other countries. Like I've never really dealt with that because it's super weird because she's clearly very accomplished. You don't have to like her. But a lot of people will even go as far as to say that she's overrated. Based on what? Who else is doing any of the things that she's doing? She's overrated compared to whom? She's literally alone in her category, and people say she's overrated compared to whom? Who is underrated compared to her? No one. The things that she's been able to do are literally unthinkable for most other artists. She's the celebrity of other celebrities. There was a line to come say hi to her at the Grammys, and she didn't win Album of the Year. Taylor Swift did. It's weird, guys. It's weird. In any other country, like Simone Biles would be in every commercial. But I don't see her getting those kinds of brand deals. With Meghan Markle, like with all of these women, it's like, America, take the fucking W, but they're too racist to take the W. To even like celebrate the fact that a fucking American married into the British monarchy. Like, that's high level infiltration. And Americans are like, I don't know, I don't care. Like, no, you're fucking crazy. Like any other country would be up in Britain's face. Like celebrating, being like, how's it fucking feel? Like Serena Williams was not allowed to wear a life-saving cat suit to play tennis. A game that she arguably like owns at this point. Like owns. She has more championship titles or whatever than any man, any white woman. And yet America is just like, yeah, I mean, that's Serena Williams. Like, not, like no fanfare, no big deal. Simone Biles, the most decorated Olympian of all time. And America just won't take the W and put her in every commercial and have her be the spokeswoman for everything. Like, it didn't make sense to me until I really understood racism. And it's because America has a problem with being represented by black people. Whether that's due to like guilt, shame, racism, or anything else, it's wrong. It's wrong. But that's why it happens. Like if you're wondering like why maybe some black women also don't come together and like defend these women, is because there is reward in your proximity to whiteness in America. So the closer that you are to white people's opinions, the more as a person of color that you are rewarded and doors are open for you, until they are inevitably slammed in your face because you have gone too far. But it's a way to sort of function in this giant fucked up mess of a society because you need to put food on the table. So you adopt the opinions and mannerisms even of your oppressor because it makes it easier to function. It makes it easier to not have to always be on defense against other people who are like you. The offense is always there. You just don't realize it unless you're one of those people. And then you realize how much easier it would be if you were just on the other side of things. And that's really fucked up, but it happens. And so a lot of black women, when they turn on other black women, it's because there is reward in that for them. There is. America rewards your proximity to whiteness. But at the end of the day, even if you are like white passing or whatever, there's still a ceiling that you're going to hit where people are not going to come to your defense just because you're from America. Even if you are in any other way, like an American household staple, like everybody knows and probably even loves at least one Beyonce song. And I'm telling you, in any other country, you are a distinguished part and representation of that country. And people will defend you just because you are from that country, as this commenter is saying, which they're spot on. But not in America. Not in America. In America, if you're a black woman, you cannot be used as a representation of America. That's because they don't want everybody else to know how much they've stolen from black women and how much of this country really is the work, the literal work, sweat, blood, and tears of black people and people of color in general. If they were to actually start uplifting and supporting and claiming black American women, if they were to start doing that, the standard of excellence would be set way too high for another white man to ever reach it again. So it's kind of like by downplaying and not recognizing any of black women's accomplishments, almost like we're ignoring that the bar is actually up here and we're clapping for people who can get up here. And we're like, oh my gosh, that's Ryan Gosling, Joe Biden, look at him being interviewed for 20 minutes straight. Like, the bar can be so low if you don't recognize the achievements and the exceptionalism of black women. So it helps the whole country to keep the bar low, because otherwise there is no competition. That's what I mean. Like, when people say Beyonce is overrated, who is she competing with? No one. No one. When people say people like Serena Williams or Simone Biles are overrated, they are literally, these women are in categories of their own. There are none others like them. And people still say that they're overrated because that helps keep the bar low for white men and white women to excel. Meanwhile, black people and people of color have been up here for years just being ignored and not recognized for these achievements so that everybody can gather around and clap for mediocre white men. That's what really this country was founded on. It was a bunch of white men who didn't want to be told what to do anymore, and they wanted to be, you know, recognized for their accomplishments. They wanted to be independent. They didn't want to be part of anything. So they made a country just for themselves. And it shows. It shows. Everything in this country is a wheelchair ramp for white men. And again, it shows. They are the least stable, most easily threatened, most fearful, most insecure demographic in this country, followed very closely by white women. Because wheelchair ramps only make you weaker, not stronger. And ignoring other people's accomplishments doesn't make you better at anything. It makes you lazy and spiteful. That's America for you. That's what it was built and founded upon. Laziness and spitefulness. Those are the results. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Godspeed.
We're going to talk about whiteness in a way that I haven't heard it in a lot of other places, but this is what went wrong. Like, if you ever wanted to know what went wrong, like, this is what went wrong. Like, what? Like, you ever looked at them and, you know, wondered how they all made these crazy decisions? This is how it happened. Okay? Like, the betrayal was against memory itself. So, it didn't start with slavery or colonization. Those were actually symptoms of a greater issue. It began when white identity was constructed by erasing rootedness. European tribes like the Irish, the Scots, the Germans, the Norse, they did have indigenous ways of living, right? Of being. Seasonal living, oral storytelling, grief rituals, communal economies. When empire logic, Rome, Catholic Church, feudalism, consolidated power in Europe, it forced those people to forget their rootedness and to replace memory with domination. The root was severed, survival through control. They didn't metabolize anything, not connection, right? Just control again. This was the first recursion. This is when they turned in on themselves, right? The first rise of this unprocessed entropy inside whiteness. It's rootless survival. It's identity by domination. It's memory replaced by mythic supremacy. And then that's how you end up with expansion without metabolization. So when Europeans came to the New World, they didn't arrive whole, right? They arrived already severed, already looping. They didn't integrate the grief of losing old Europe. They exported it. They didn't mourn their exile from memory. They externalized it on the people they colonized. Conquest wasn't just greed, it was spiritual panic. Because if you're not rooted in memory, you only feel alive by expanding your domination, by making more land, more wealth, more slaves, more laws, more mirrors, and thus their entropy, their unprocessed experiences exploded. But it was coded as civilization. So when American identity was built, it wasn't metabolized selfhood. It was built on dumping these unprocessed experiences, these entropy onto others. So indigenous people got labeled uncivilized to offload their own severed ancestral memory, right? Black people were property to offload their terror of being spiritually homeless because they felt spiritually homeless. Immigrants were treated like threats to offload their fear of being spiritually replaceable. Projection became policy. Projection became culture. Projection became destiny. America never healed from Europe. It just renamed its wounds. So every genocide, right? Every stolen plantation, every gentrified city, every new suburb, every Wall Street boom, every school built on erasure, every church built without confession is material success reinforced. It is material success reinforced spiritual entropy. It is material success reinforcing, right, spiritual unprocessed experiences for them. So the more whiteness succeeded externally, the more it hollowed out internally. So their collective broken his roles because every reward for survival was tied to a denial of memory, right? The maw grew, the silence deepened, the performance sharpened. So here's just the facts, right? It was really a bit of a 4-stage process. Severance from ancestral rootedness, loss of metabolized memory, survival through domination, entropy weaponizes progress, projection on the others, externalization of internal panic, and reinforcement through wealth. So that it looped, got hardened in the culture. So white America's original sin is not slavery. It's the refusal to mourn the first loss of rootedness. So this is all just a disgusting projection. It's really this humiliating. Like I want people to sit with that. Like, we're watching them grieve in public. All of this is grief. All of it. Rape, slavery, genocide, imperialism. Those were the fevered dreams of a people trying not to remember what it felt like to be abandoned by their own history. So every time memory tried to return, they doubled the performance instead of softening. This is why black people look so nasty to them. Because if we can build a culture, even in the midst of that, of exile, it makes all of this grief look meaningless. It has to be destroyed in that way, right? So they have no home. You ask a black person where it all starts from. You might say you might get answers like slavery in Africa. You ask a white person, you'll hear Europe. Okay, but you hear exactly the same. Africa, Europe, they're as disconnected, if not worse, and they've been materially rewarded for it through this reinforcement. So this was a crazy deep take, but this is exactly what's going on, for sure.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great from wherever you're watching this video from. Again, I'm your host and presenter Ejidok Stories. As I told you, they have made it possible for you to believe that you were inferior. Well, the reality of the matter is that they siphoned on your energy. They could not do without you, black people, for the longest time. And this tells you that black people come from a great place. They managed to lie to you that you are inferior by writing history books. That's how they made you believe that. They made it that you never came from a great place. They made you believe in all those things. Well, the reality of the matter, all along, black folks have always been great. Black folks have always been great. They just never wanted to admit the truth. But the reality of the matter is that black people have always been great. Black people came from a great place. And this has always been shown, because without black people, I'll say again, without black people, America wouldn't have been why it is right now. It is because of the greatest things that black people did. That's why today we are seeing America be why it is today. So without black people, America couldn't have been why it is today. They have always depended on black people. Black people built the US with their blood and sweat, with their tears. So again, I'm going to be saying that without black folks, this wouldn't have been possible. This was just possible because of black people. Black folks made it possible for other groups of people to also come inside the United States. And they go ahead and tell you that black people have never been great all along. That's what they're going to be telling you. When the reality of the matter is that black folks have been great. Black folks have given their best. So I don't really know what you think about this video, but they have siphoned our energy. They have lied to us for the longest time. This is what has been happening. They have lied to us about ourselves, and they made us believe that we are not great. They have made us believe that we are inferior. So I really don't know what you think about this. The biggest lie that has ever happened is to tell a black person that they are not great. They made us have self-hate. They made us feel like we are inferior. And this is just the sad part of the reality. The sad part of reality is that this has made some black people have what we call self-hate, especially people who are not aware about themselves. People who don't have Afrocentric knowledge, they still feel inferior about them. And I'm talking about a lot of Africans, people who look like me back in Africa. They believe that white folks are greater than them. White folks are closer to God. And that's what our grandparents, that's what our uncles used to tell us, that a white person is like a god. And they want you to believe that. But well, you and I now know the truth. They all made us to feel the same way. They made us to feel that way. But the reality of the matter is, the truth is coming out. And everyone is getting to know the truth. Everyone is coming and knowing the truth. The truth is finally out there. So brothers and sisters, please let me know what you'll think about this video. As you know, I'm your host and presenter, Unique Stories. But until then, let me see you in my next video. Peace, love, and harmony. Salute.